And on June 16th, 2004, Bush claimed a turning point will come 2 weeks from today. And in 2005, every year, one of them said it. 2005 in February, Donald Rumsfeld said, on January 30th in Iraq, the world witnessed an important moment in the global struggle against tyranny, a moment that historians might one day call a major turning point. And then on March 7th, 2005, William Crystal, who was the editor of The Standard, he now writes a column in the New York Times, wrote, the Iraqi election of January 30th, 2005 will turn out to have been a genuine turning point. And then on December 18th of that year, as the year ended, Vice President Cheney, while conceding that the level of violence has continued, assured ABC News, I do believe that when we look back on this period of time, 2005 will have been the turning point. So we found those quotes in 2006, 2007. Now the surge is said to be the turning point. McCain, the last time he spoke on this, said that he stakes his campaign on it. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's funny, you go back and actually see what those turning points were, such as Bremer handing over sovereignty to Iyad Alawi, or the election of the Supreme Islamic Council and Dawa Party to power in 2005. I guess they were turning points to a degree, but if they were wanting us to believe they were turning points toward the direction of peace and safety for the average Iraqi, it sure wasn't headed that way.
Yeah, no, it's quite astounding when you look at the record of what all these folks had to say. And one of my favorite quotes is from Paul Wolfowitz, who you'll recall was the Undersecretary at the Defense Department. And what he said, I want to get his exact words, so I'm looking him up now, but Paul Wolfowitz, on July 22nd, 2003, he was the Deputy Secretary of Defense. Here's his statement. I think all foreigners should stop interfering in the internal affairs of Iraq. Now think about that. I mean, I hear that and I say, yeah, absolutely, he's right. Just a minute. What is he? What are we? So it was surreal. It's another universe.
That was what Bush said too when the Lebanese were holding their election, and Bush was trying to force the Syrian troops out of southern Lebanon. He said, it's impossible. How could anybody believe that any country could have free and fair elections in the presence of an occupying army of foreign troops?
Yes, well...
No irony whatsoever. I wonder if it's the pills. You think they got all these guys eating Prozac and stuff up there?
I don't know. I mean, some of the things that were said we threw them in our book because they were so grotesque. I mean, President Bush literally said he was honored at some ceremony at a hospital. He said, "I'm proud to shake the hand of the man who had his hand cut off by Saddam Hussein."
Yeah. Well, it was his other hand.
No late-night comedian would have the courage to write such a line.
Oh, that's funny. Everybody, it's Victor Navasky. He is the co-author of the new book, Mission Accomplished, or How We Won the War in Iraq. He's the CEO or the president, not sure which, of the Institute of Expertology. And let me ask you this. Were these people all just a bunch of goofball, bozos, group thinkers, or did they know they were lying?
No, I don't think so. That's the tragedy of it. I think that Dick Cheney and the president and all the rest of them, Richard Pearl and Wolfowitz, and the commentariat in the press thought they were telling the truth. I mean, they shaded, some of the people in the administration shaded the truth in the interest of what they believed to be the higher truth, but I think they believed it.
Mm-hmm. Sort of just the emperor's new clothes syndrome, right? Nobody wants to be the one to admit that they're not fit for their job, so they go along.
Well, that's an ancient way to put it, yes.
That's funny. George Bush one time said, well, I guess this is the Bush version of Hitler's big lie. He just said, well, sometimes you just have to repeat a phrase over and over and over again to sort of catapult the propaganda.
If you've retired, you don't have anything to worry about. It's the third time I've said that. I'll probably say it 3 more times. See, in my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in, to kind of catapult the propaganda.
They recycled phrases and repeated things each other said without credit. For example, early on, Condoleezza Rice said, "We don't want the smoking gun to become a mushroom cloud." Well, that's a pretty vivid metaphor. Then 2 weeks later, President George Bush said, "We don't want the smoking gun to become a mushroom cloud." They liked the way these things sounded, and then they would repeat them.
Yeah, Powell used that one too once at least, I think.
And then sometimes they would vary it, like Ken Edelman said at first that the invasion of Iraq would be a walk in the park, and then later on he said it would be a cakewalk. So which that's the difference.
Yeah, I think that was a Richard Pearl line too, the cakewalk.
Yes.
That's funny. And as far as turning points go, we have this whole surge is working meme, but just a few weeks ago there was the big attack in Basra where Maliki's forces led an attack against the Sodderists down there, and not only Bush but all the rest of them came out with these grandiose statements about what a historic day this is in the history of Iraq.
Yes, but it's some of the things that were said are outrageous. I mean, Michael Ledeen, who's a freedom scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, here's what he said. I'm thumbing through. He says, every 10 years or so, the United States needs to pick up some small, crappy little country and throw it against the wall just to show the world we mean business.
Yep. And that's quoted by Jonah Goldberg, his buddy.
That's right. You got it.
Yeah,
and then
the Ledeen doctrine.
Right. No. But it's not just, the point is, it's not just neoconservatives like Ledeen or Goldberg. It's right after that. Peter Barnard, who is the editor of the New Republic, said, we need a little bit of logistical support, but we don't need the moral support of anyone because we're on the side of the angels in this. Maybe.
Well, let me give you an opportunity to pick on Tom Friedman, because for some reason, they called Ronald Reagan the Teflon president. This guy is the Teflon pundit. Apparently, it doesn't matter that he's never been right about anything ever in that column of his. It just keeps churning out. And people that I love and care about say things to me like, well, did you see the new Tom Friedman column? He says some very interesting things in there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, for many years, I was editing and then publishing The Nation magazine, and I blame myself because the first time Tom Friedman wrote a column in favor of the war in Iraq, he said, my wife disagrees with me on this. So I said to Katrina Vanden Heuvel, who became the editor of The Nation, Katrina, why don't we ask Tom Friedman's wife to write an article for us? We didn't get around to doing it. Let me read you. Yeah, not to put too much of a burden on you. You tell me how many you can take, because I've got scores of them.
Oh, go for it. Go for it. We want to know. We want to hear them all.
Well, you'll stop me, but here it is. Tom Friedman, every 6 months, Friedman would predict that we'll know in 6 months whether this war is working or not. So I'm going to start reading you. November 30th, 2003. In fact, someone in the blogosphere called it a Friedman unit. 6 months he was so insistent. So here's Friedman, November 30th, 2003. The next 6 months in Iraq, which will determine the prospect for democracy building there, are the most important 6 months in U.S. foreign policy in a long, long time. It's November 30th, 2003. Now, 6 months later, June 30th, 2004, he's interviewed on NPR's Fresh Air. What I absolutely don't understand is just at the moment when we finally have a UN-approved Iraqi caretaker government made up of, I know a lot of these guys, reasonably decent people and more than reasonably decent people, everyone wants to declare it's over. I don't get it. It might be over in a week, it might be over in a month, it might be over in 6 months. But what's the rush? Can we let this play out, please? Then, 5 months later, October 2004, what we're going to find out, Bob, he's talking to Bob Schieffer at CBS at Space Nation, what we're going to find out, Bob, in the next 6 to 9 months is whether we have liberated a country or uncorked a civil war. Okay, but then, in November 2004, improv time is over. This is crunch time. Iraq will be won or lost in the next few months, but it won't be won with high rhetoric. It will be won on the ground in the war over the last mile.
Oh, man.
Then, 9 months later, September 25th, 2005, on Meet the Press, he says, I think we're in the end game now. I think we're in a 6 month window here where it's going to become very clear